our Rotary meeting today. So we'll be pleased to hear from now Sommy Achebo. And Sommy, as I mentioned, I've had the great opportunity to be able to work with him for the past, has it been 9 months or?
Since January.
Since January, yeah, 9 months. Yeah, here we go. When I first SUU called and they said they had an intern that might be interested at working at our office, and so I obviously Googled who it was, and I thought, oh, this might be interesting. As you can tell now, and obviously for the reasons why he's here, what an amazing man. And as I've got to know him over the last 9 months, we're thankful that we were able to keep him on during the summer, and he's been a tremendous man. I don't want to share very much more. I'll let him tell his story, but a similar story of determination and will, and just a great guy. So help me introduce Sommy.
How you guys doing today? So I'm Sommy Achebo. I'm from Nigeria, West Africa, so same thing as Nouman. I grew up in Nigeria. I came here to America at 15, 16. I went to high school in Murray, Utah, private school, Mount Vernon Academy in Murray, Utah. Growing up in Nigeria was awesome. You know, I was lucky enough to grow up in a family that I had my dad, I had my mom, and unlike Nouman, my parents did have education, and it's kind of like a different experience. I've had friends that their parents don't have education compared to friends that have parents that have education, and it's actually like really, it makes a lot of difference. And that's why, you know, Nouman is kind of like a hero, and I look up to Nouman a lot. So my parents they went to school. My dad was a high school principal till he retired. My mom, she's still back home in Nigeria. She's a vice principal at high school. So I had, you know, that education part of it instilled in me at a very young age. My parents they were awesome. They were religious. They raised us growing up believing in, you know, ourselves and believing in God and believing in, you know, family. And my dad till tomorrow is my hero. You know, he taught me a lot. You know, he was a disciplinarian. I mean, he was a high school principal. So, and in Nigeria, you're allowed to beat up the kids a little bit. So, you know, probably did a bit of that. So I was raised in that type of family. My parents always stressed about education, and, you know, I have good grades, but like my other siblings are like smart. Like they're ridiculously smart. Like, you know, I'm kind of like average, probably because I started playing sports, but so I, from a young age, always wanted to play sports. I started playing soccer probably about 4 or 5 years old, and I was pretty good at it. I've always been good at playing at soccer, and so I grew up wanting to play professional soccer. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to England, because that's kind of like the home of soccer, really. It's like London. So I wanted to play soccer, and I had a family member that was supposed to sponsor me to go to London to play at an academy and, you know, get an education, but really just play soccer. And but she kind of flaked, and she said that I was like too good, that like, you know, I'm gonna end up making a lot of money and like forgetting about her and her family, and that was kind of like a reason why she didn't sponsor me. And that kind of like hurt me a lot and kind of like pushed me like in a different direction. And I was just kind of like, you know, I'm gonna figure it out one way or the other. And so I started playing every sport out there. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, play every sport. So I started playing basketball, I ran track. I didn't play football until I got to America, but I tried everything I could to get like a coach or somebody to recruit me to come to America. Well, then it was still England, but when I started playing basketball, I met some friends that one of them had an opportunity to come to the US to play basketball and go to school, and so that kind of like inspired me a little bit. I was like, well, if you could go to America and play basketball, I'm not the greatest basketball player, but I know I'm good at school and I can play soccer and play, run track and do a lot of things. And I'm like, I think I'm more valuable than him. And so that kind of like drove me to like focus on that. And I started playing basketball, working with like a lot of coaches, but it never really happened. So I kept learning kind of how the coaches recruit players. They always would go talk to like the high school principal and talk to the coach and at the school and tell them they have this kid in Africa or wherever that they could invite and bring to America to come play. And so I kind of thought about it like, if he can talk to the principal, well, I can just skip the coach that is recruiting because it doesn't seem like it's gonna work out for me since I'm not 7 foot tall or anything. So because that's what they always like to recruit is the taller guys. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out my own way and like look for ways to talk to the principals and whoever I need to talk to, secretaries and stuff, and just tell them like, hey, I want to come to America and I want to have an opportunity. And so that's what I did. I just went on Google and just looked up private schools in America, and I just had all the emails and everything. I just would go every day after practice and school, go to like a cyber cafe. That's what we have. I didn't have a computer or anything, so I'll always go there. Whatever money I have, I pay for like an hour or two and just sit down there and just start emailing schools and emailing, coaches and just emailing everyone out there. I'm like, hey, this kid from Africa, want to go to school in America. I think it'll be awesome. Like, hey, I could give you something. I could play sports and, I'm good at school. Kind of like sold myself a little bit. And, it's a whole bunch of yes, no, here and there. We don't have money to sponsor you. And I got lucky. And I had a few schools that offered me a scholarship to come go to high school in America. So my best friend, he had the same opportunity and he got a school in Utah. I didn't know where Utah, I've never heard of Utah before in my life until he somehow found Utah. And, he's my best friend. I was living at his house at that time. It was like in the summer, so I went and just stay with him. And I told him, I was like, why don't we just go to the same school so we have each other, and he was like, okay, that's great. And I was like really the one helping him like email and stuff, so I kind of like double crossed him a little bit and kind of like, put myself into like, let's go to the same school, and so we ended up getting a scholarship from the same school in Mount Vernon in Utah here. And he wasn't lucky enough, so he didn't get his visa, but I did. And I wanted to wait for him. Like, the dad got my visa. Normally, if you get a visa in America, like to come to America, it's like you just going crazy. But I wasn't. I was just sad and crying, and because like I wanted to come to America with him. Like that was the only reason why I changed, the schools that I wanted to go to. I had schools like in Florida, Atlanta, like to go to, but I was like, no, I want to go with my friend. And so he, was just unfortunate. He never got his visa, and he's still back home. And I talk to him every day, like literally, and he's my best friend, and that's kind of how I ended up coming to school here in Utah. And so when I got to America, I kind of figured out really fast, so like, for basketball, football, everything, it's like the athletes are either like really strong or kind of out of shape. Like it's like one or the other. Like there's not a lot of in between. And I was like, okay, well, I was really skinny. I was like 160 pounds maybe. In high school, my sophomore year, I was kind of like, okay, if I want to be a better athlete, I gotta start lifting and be strong, just as strong as kids. Because that's the one thing that kept pushing me around when I played basketball. So I started playing basketball, but I realized quickly I was like, the skill level in America is like just so ridiculous. I'm like, I cannot match a lot of the kids. Like I played AAU, I had like a few offers like to go JUCO, play basketball, but I wanted to go to a Division I school. And so my senior year, the end of my junior year, people kept telling me like, just play football, like you fast and strong, and you'll be good at it. And I never really wanted to play football because I just thought it was crazy. People just putting on helmets and running into each other. Like it didn't make any sense to me. And my parents definitely didn't love it at all. And so but I ended up, making that decision because I was like, you know, I've seen the football players play it, and I'm like, okay, they're not as fast as me. I know that for sure, and I'm like, you know, I'm probably just as strong as them. And so I decided to play football after watching like the Super Bowl, like in 2015, 2017, 16, I can't remember what year. And it was New England and the Seahawks, so whatever year that was. Yeah. And so I watched and I was like, man, I kind of like this sport. And that's how I started playing football. And I played for Granger High School because my private high school didn't have football. So I had to play for like a public school. So I played for Granger High School. It was awesome. My first year, I didn't know what I was doing, you know, at all. Like literally, I was just kind of running around, and you know, I scored one time and I ran across the end zone, like on the other side, because I thought you had to go across the other side. You know, I just, you know, so I've had some of those days. They're still awesome, but so my senior year, I got a lot better. Kind of watch a lot of film, watch a lot of just athletes and everything, and I was like, you know, like I want to move positions because I played my junior year. I played as an outside linebacker, but my team, they were so bad, like their defensive backs were like so bad, and I was like, you know what, like I'm bigger than our linebackers, but I'm faster than everyone on the team. I'm like, you know, if we're gonna win, we need people that could cover. And I played a lot of basketball and soccer, so I was like, you know, really good at like playing man and like man coverage and stuff. It kind of like translates a little bit, and so I switched positions my senior year, played corner, and that kind of I think was the biggest thing for me was moving to corner. Kind of like helped me a lot with recruiting because coaches like came to recruit were like, this guy's 205. My senior year I was 205. I ate a lot of American food, so I listed a little bit, so that got me up there. So my senior year I was like 205, and if you know high school football, a lot of guys that play linebacker or whatever, they're like 210, 205, around there. And so I was just as big as them, but I was just as fast as everyone in the state, like faster than most of the kids in the state, you know. And so a lot of coaches recruiting were like kind of intrigued by that, like, you know, this guy is 205, runs just like the corners and the safeties and the receivers, and so that helped me a lot. I got recruited by SU. I didn't know SU at all till my senior year when I started getting recruited. So I was there for 3 years and never heard about Cedar City, never heard about anything down south. But from recruiting, I heard about SEU, and you know, I came out here, and you know, it's been awesome for me. I've been able to like, you know, meet a lot of good people. There are a lot of awesome people out here, you know. Paul, you know, it's just been awesome working with Paul and Mandy and Jessica and the Enzyme guys, a lot of them. And my girlfriend Bree, she's out there, and Tracy, Jeff, you probably don't know them. They work at the district. You know, they're some of the greatest people I've been around since I've been at SEU. You know, Paul, just the opportunity he gave me to work at the office, and it's kind of like how awesome they've been. And something about me is like I always, when I go to somewhere new, try to actually figure out if they truly like me or they're trying to act like they like me. And so, like, you know, after I got my interview and everything, I was like, okay, they seem pretty genuine, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm from Africa, so they probably trying to treat me good because I'm from Africa and everything. And so, like, you know, I'm a minority and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna try to see if they truly treat everyone like this. And, you know, they treat everyone like that. You know, it's been a lovely place to work at. You know, it's just been a lot of peace, a lot of just love, and you know, everyone cares about each other. And I've gotten a lot of free stuff, got a barbecue, a grill, like for free. I mean, it's awesome getting free stuff. You know, so I've gotten a lot of, but overall, just how well they've treated me. You know, just Paul, Mandy, Jessica, just, you know, making sure that I know what I'm doing, and, you know, like making sure that, you know, if I have something with my family, they're always involved and always want to know what's going on, and, you know, if I need something, they've always been there for me. And just like, there are a lot of good people here at Cedar, man. A lot of people try to act like they're not, but I've met a lot of good people here in Cedar. It's just been awesome, just the love and support, you know.
Sorry, let me interrupt. Would you
you mind telling the story about when you first got to America, elevator?
Oh, okay. Well, so it's kind of a funny story. So I flew into New York City, and I was supposed to fly to Utah, but I missed my flight because I was at immigration, customs, whatever they call them, and they were taking forever, and it was like really, really long lines everywhere, and it was like kind of like the time where students like come to America, so it was like ridiculous, and so I missed my flight, and I got lucky. They put me in a hotel, Sheraton Hotel, in New York, and I've never really been in an elevator before, or never really slept in a hotel by myself or anything, and so I was like, well, this is gonna be great. First night in America, I'm in like a 5-star hotel. I got a jacuzzi in it, got everything going, and I was like excited, and so I went to the hotel that night. I went to go order food. I didn't know anything about American food, and so I saw a chicken salad, and I was like, oh, that sounds good, chicken salad. There's gonna be chicken in it, and so I got a chicken salad, like a Coke, and took it up to my room, kind of excited. I didn't know how to work like the heat, the air, whatever's going on. I literally probably still don't know how to work it, but and so I could not figure it out. So I had all the blankets and everything. And I don't really like the sheets like going under the bed, so I just took everything out, and I just literally slept in my shoes and everything, just laid out there, and But I remembered I had to go talk to my parents and tell them, hey, I missed my flight, and the only way I could was Facebook because I didn't have a phone or anything, and I just went back, and I went to so I was trying to go down to like the computer floor, and you had to go with the elevator, and so I was like, okay, this is great. So I got on the elevator, and I clicked it. I couldn't really work it. I didn't know you just push a number and it just goes right there. So I was trying to like look for like an enter button or something, like but all of a sudden it started going down. So I was like, kind of like, I don't know, you guys probably can't remember the first time you were in an elevator, but just that little jump right there, I was like, oh crap, so I went all the way down, and I'm like, oh, awesome. And I was like, well, shoot, this is my activity for the night. So I kept pushing it, I'll push it all the way up. So we go all the way up. I'll come outside, kind of walk around so it doesn't seem like I'm just a little weird kid. When there's no one, it's clear, I'll go right back, run right back, push it back, go all the way down. And I kept doing it, and it was awesome, it was great. Couldn't figure out like why it moved that fast or slow. I kept doing that, and I tried to work like I didn't even know it was coffee. I just seen some stuff in the room. I was like, oh, seems good. Tried to mix it with the machine, couldn't. So I just put it in the water, tried to drink it. It didn't taste very good. so I was like, and then when I finally got my food, I was expecting like a lot of chicken, because if you know me, I really just eat chicken and rice. That's all I really eat, is just meat and rice. I don't really like vegetables or anything. And so I got the food. It was like room service or whatever. It's kind of like fancy. It was weird, but I got the food, opened it, and it was just like lettuce and tomatoes. The whole time I'm like so confused, because back home in Nigeria, like salads they're a lot different. It's like carrots and like cabbage, I think that's what they call it. They kind of grate a little bit, but there's a lot of meat in it, and you put like some mayonnaise, whatever you want to put in it. And so that's kind of what I was expecting, but it was just kind of like, there's no sauce in it. It's just like a whole bunch of vegetables, and like I couldn't find the chicken. I just kept looking for the chicken the whole time, and I couldn't find anything. And I literally like tossed it in the trash, and I kept going down to get another Coke, and that's because they said they were done for like food that night. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna keep drinking Coke. So I drank for like 5 that night, and it was awesome. Got down the next day, and I made sure I wasn't gonna miss my flight. So my flight was for like 5 p.m. I left the hotel like 10 or something, went to the airport and just slept on like one of the chairs, benches, whatever, over there. And so that's kind of like a unique experience for me. It was awesome, like just like coming to America, and I'm like, man, I feel like finally I'm like ahead in life. Like, it's like I've always felt like I was behind. Like I watch movies and like kind of see other kids like living really lavish and everything, and I'm like, man, like why can't that be me? And so for the first time I thought I was ahead and everything, and then I came to Utah and it wasn't really a 5-star hotel or anything. You know, my family wasn't the richest and everything, and so it was just, well, back to reality. You have to actually work for stuff, and so, but I got put in a really good family. My host family, she, you know, Kelly Hill, she's awesome. She cared about me, always took me to my games, practice, and everything, and that was really important for me, just because coming to America at such a young age, I didn't know what I would get. I wasn't expecting anything really. You know, you kind of like research a little bit, kind of like Google people and like try to figure out, you know, who's this person at the school, who's this person, but you don't know anything about them till you get here. And since I got here, it's been kind of like a lot of love, a lot of support, you know, getting a scholarship. And now at SCU, I just graduated this summer, criminal justice political science, and I just started my business MBA at SCU. And so just all the opportunities I've been granted, you know, it's been like just amazing. And I tell people all the time, I still believe till today that America is the greatest country in the world, and it's the reason why I wanted to come here. It's to come to where I can, you know, have an opportunity to be a better person, you know, have an opportunity to go back home and influence a lot of people and, you know, help a lot of people. And so one person I want to talk about is my dad. My dad is my role model. Like, I lost my dad in 2015. That was like 4 months after I got to America, and so it was kind of hard. Just trying to deal with it. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. And you know, at that age, kind of before my dad passed, I had like a dream probably like 2 weeks before he got sick, and so I was not really comfortable because I had a dream that he passed, and so. And I didn't tell my mom because I knew she was gonna panic. So I told like my aunties and stuff and like tell them like pray about it. I don't know, but like I didn't have a good feeling about it. And then when I heard he was sick, you know, I already kind of told people like he's not gonna make it. I know he's not. Like I've seen it in the dream and everything. I think this is it. And my dad fought. You know, he tried. You know, to fight. They said he died from like peptic ulcer or something. I don't. You know, that's part of the problem. And back home is like medical field is not the greatest, and so little things like that can kill people. I mean, kills people all the time. And so, you know, he got sick. He talked to me the night before he passed. So he kept trying to talk to me, but I was at practice, and I go back and I had a bunch of missed calls, and like it's like my dad. I'm like, man, he's calling me, so he's better then, because like he wasn't allowed to call me when it was like I'm in the hospital. So I was like, oh, he's good. And so you know, I talked to him and. He just kind of started advising me about life and like, you know, make sure you take care of my family, kids, and your siblings. And, you know, my dad always wanted to have a foundation for like underprivileged kids and, you know, being able to build a school for them and send them to school and, you know, have them in a safe place. Because his dad was the person during the war back home in Nigeria that took care of all the kids. So when like the parents go fight in the war, his dad was kind of like the one in charge of like the kids and making sure they have stuff to eat and everything. And so I feel like he got a lot of that from him. And so he raised me the right way. And like, you know, I had a close bond with my dad. I ran some of his businesses for him back home when, you know, he was still alive, when I was still back there. And he was like, you know, my best friend and everything. And so it was kind of like a big deal. When he started telling me that, I was kind of like, yeah, he's probably gonna die. And so the next day, I went to church, and I was like taking pictures, like, you know, I was like, I like this outfit, I'm gonna take a picture of it, I posted it on Facebook. So I didn't know he already passed, but no one wanted to tell me because they kind of knew how, like, my relation with my dad and everything, and they didn't want me to come back home. That's part of it. They were trying to avoid me coming back home for the funeral, and so no one told me. And you know, so I posted this picture on Facebook, and like I get like 1 million calls from my family members, and you know, and I'm going, what's going on? Like, why is everyone calling me? Like, you know, I've been in America for so long, 4 months, but no one's really called me like this. And so I kept trying to figure out what's going on, and in my heart, I kept saying, you know, he's probably dead. That's the only reason why they're calling me. But no one wanted to tell me. I'm like, I asked my brother, I was like, where's my dad? He's like, oh, he's good. He just got discharged from the hospital. We're about to go home. I'm like, well, give him the phone. And no one wanted to give him the phone. And so I just kept arguing and arguing and arguing, and he's like, oh, he's in the mortuary, and like, I was kind of like, I was in church, and I was like, okay, let me just go home, and and I cried about it, and like most people will, and but I told myself that I'm only gonna cry about it once, like that day. And so, my host family and everybody trying to console me, and I'm like, don't worry about me today. I'll be fine. And I cried and cried and cried. Like I cried literally all day, all night. And then the very next day, I was like, I'm gonna go play basketball. I told myself what's happened has happened, and now I gotta meet people that can help me help my family. And so I just started kind of like getting involved in a lot of things, and I had a lot of good people around me then. I had a friend that gave me an opportunity to go back home for his funeral. He sent me like $2,000 to go back, and I wanted to give the money to my mom, so I didn't go back. I sent the money for my mom to do the funeral, and then when after the funeral she could move to somewhere, start life afresh and everything. And so she did that, and it was just a crazy time in my life that like kind of has taught me a lot. It kind of made me grow up a lot faster because I had siblings that had to go to school and had to eat and had to take care of themselves, and the only way I could was work and be somebody. And so like I started working in my high school as a janitor and like making money to like I was sending money to my family every week, just making sure to keep them going, and just things like that has kind of like inspired me to be who I am today. And it's just every time I feel down or like feel like, man, I don't want to go to work today, I don't want to go to class today, I'm like, well, no one's gonna take care of my siblings, I'm the only one that they hope on. And so because of stuff like that, it's kind of like it's helped me become a better person, and just seeing a lot of kids look up to me back home. So I have a foundation that because of my dad, I opened that foundation to kind of honor my dad and kind of leave his whatever dream he had. And so I have a foundation for underprivileged kids myself, and kind of like I have camps I run back home in Nigeria every other year, go back and take a whole bunch of shoes, clothes, and I'll organize a 3-day basketball, soccer camp for them. And it's awesome. And I tell a lot of people like the most important thing for those kids is just seeing me. It's kind of like seeing someone that they can be. Because a lot of people kind of have role models that they really can't be. Like no one really can be LeBron James. Like it's just he's different. Like there are a few people that can be that, And but the thing about kids back home, I think it's weird, but they're smart. They know who they can be. They know they can't be President Trump or President of Nigeria or they can, but it's so hard that they want to look up to someone they truly know they can be. And so it's always awesome whenever I go back and the kids see me and like they're always so happy and like they're always like I tell them stories and like tell them how to be better than me, because at the end of the day that's what I want for people in life. Is like having a lot of awesome people that could better me, and that's kind of how we can change the world, is having a lot of people that believe in themselves and want to see the best out of people, have a good heart, care about people like they care about themselves, and just be honest, and so I don't want to take too much of you guys' time, so if you guys have any questions or anything, you can.
So do you still weigh 205?
No. So I'm about 230, 235. I gained a little bit more weight. I guess I got good food in Cedar, so. Yep.
Is there any way to help your charitable foundation?
Yeah, so I run fundraisers a lot whenever I'm planning my camps, and so I currently still have a GoFundMe because I was supposed to have a camp this year and in May, but because of COVID and everything, I have to it's not canceled, but I don't really have a fixed date yet for it. But I'm still planning on doing the camp sometime, maybe next year, and I'm still kind of doing a whole bunch of fundraisers, and I always try to get whoever that's willing to assist, and I'm always open to come talk to you about it, and explain everything about the camp and, how I distribute the money and the shoes and everything and just in general. So anyone that's interested in hearing about it, and it's approved by the NCAA, so it sounds good that way. So
Any other questions? Thank you, Sommy. If we'll just stand now, we'll say the four-way test.